Morning students, hope you all are staying safe at home. Today we will be starting a new chapter of political science, chapter 3, understanding government. Now what is government? As we have already discussed it in previous chapters, again just to refresh your knowledge, human communities, they are made up of large number of people and they are having different interests with their different needs. So the resources which we use to satisfy our need is not enough, it is not sufficient, which leads to disorder and conflict. And in this conflict, normally the richer section or the powerful section wins. In order to ensure equality, peace, and stability, there is a set of common rules which is needed, and the body which makes the rules, which execute these rules, it is known as the government. So, government, it is the earliest societies which usually consisted of a council of some members, and over the time, the structure it became somewhat complex because the population and the economy changed, and today there are many different forms of government in the world. There are some basic functions which more or less remains the same with different forms as well. Let us learn about the functions of the government. As a government, they have many of the functions, and some of the main among these are to lay down rules and regulations which help to maintain law and order in the society, as the government can punish those who disobey these rules, to be the responsible one for settling the disputes within the country and to maintain the peace. Government is also responsible for maintaining friendly relationships with neighboring countries and to defend the country from all the foreign attacks, from all the external attacks with the help of army, navy and air force. So it is the duty of the government to ensure that the basic amenities like food, water, electricity, it reaches to the people. It has been made available to the people. The developmental activities of the government, which includes building, maintaining roads, railways, and providing means of public transportation, which also includes healthcare facilities, education, which is accessible to all, and enabling employment. So, to generate employment, all these are also the responsibility of government. So, the government it also ensures that there should be a stable economy, as the main economic activities which includes issuing currencies, preparing budgets, levying taxes, controlling and regulating trade, and all these activities which is related to economic reforms. So it is also the responsibility of the government to carry out rescue operations in the time of natural disasters like earthquakes, tsunamis, fires or flood, etc. Here, the government also has the responsibility towards the environment. It also tries to control over exploitation of natural resources and to take some measures to reduce the pollution. Now, let us learn about the levels of government. As in most of the countries, which is very big, and it has been needed to divide them into smaller units so as to make sure that the administration it takes place in an easy way. So in India, as an example, government it takes place at three levels. The first one is central, state, and then local level. So let us learn about the levels of government. The central level, as this body which looks after the administration of the entire country, of the whole country, it is central or union government. It is the highest level of government and the seat of the union government. It is the capital of the country. In India, it is in New Delhi, as it is the capital of country. So the central government, it also directly governs the 7 union territories of India. Then comes the state government. As India, it has 29 states. Each of the state has a government of its own, which looks after, which takes care of the state. And however, it is somehow we can say it is answerable to the central level for what they did and for what they are doing. The next one is local government, as to form, or we can say to operate the smaller administrative units like districts, villages and towns and cities. Local government was made. As there is a system of government where political authority it is divided between national and state government, it is known as a federal system. So on the other hand, there are some of the countries where power it is concentrated only in single level, or we can say the central or national level, which is known as unitary system of government. So India it is having partly unitary and partly federal system. Now the organs of the government, as in order to function smoothly, in order to function nicely, the government operates through three main branches or organs. The first is the legislature. As this organ of the government, it makes laws for the country. It is known as legislature. In India, laws are applicable to the whole nation, which is made by the parliament, which functions through two houses, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. So these laws, they are applied to all the people of country equally. Each of the state it has legislative assembly which makes the law applicable only to the state. The next is the executive. It is the organ of the government which has the power to enforce the laws which has been made by the legislature, and in India the president, the prime minister and the council of ministers with their civil servants, which makes up the executive body at the central level. And at the state level it is made up of governor, chief minister and the council of ministers. So let us now move on to judiciary. It is the branch of the government which interprets the laws and which ensures that they are abided by the people. So they have the authority to punish those who do not follow the rules or who violates the law. Thereby they ensure justice for all. So the judiciary it operates through courts which is presided over by judges. The Supreme Court, which is located at New Delhi, it is the highest judicial body of India. At the state level there are some high courts and district courts as well. So let us now move on to forms of government. How the government take power, or we can say how the government take decisions to rule. The power of a government to rule over a country, it can be hereditary, okay, which can be passed from the child to their child, or we can say it can be taken forcibly where people do not choose their government, or we can say it also happens that people choose their own government, choose their own representatives. So depending on how they get their power, governments can be classified into different forms. Some of the more important one, it includes monarchy, dictatorship and democracy. But let us learn about monarchy. As countries which have monarchs, which means kings or queens, they are the head of the state and are known as monarchies. They are usually hereditary, and in some of the form the real power it lies in the hands of the elected body and the king or queen. So some countries like UK, Bhutan, Morocco, Netherlands and Qatar, they are the countries where monarchies existed. Now let us learn about dictatorship. So here the rule of a single person, or we can say a group of person, so they are having the absolute power. It is known as dictatorship. The rulers, they are known as dictators, and they may come to power through popular elections where people just elect them, and soon they disagree with the wishes of the people once they come in power. So dictatorship it existed in the countries like North Korea, Sudan and Rwanda. Here let us now study about democracy. It is a form of government where people elect the representatives, and the government is having the power where people choose their leaders. The government is answerable to them, and there is public participation in the country, in the affairs of the country, and that is why democracy it has been described as a government of the people, for the people and by the people. Countries which are having democracies, which include India, the USA and France. The quest for universal adult franchise is the next topic, as in many of the countries of the world, for a long period of time, women, the poor people and the people with different skin colors, they were not allowed to vote, to contest the elections and to take participation in the political affairs of the country. So it was seen as the second class, and their opinion didn't matter. So women in particular, they were the stereotype as being good at household work and they do not require so much intelligence, effort or education. And in the 19th century, some group of people around the world, they started fighting for universal adult franchise, or the right for every adult citizen, or we can say people who are above 18 years, to vote, irrespective of their gender, their religion, culture, color, economic status, and everything. For studying this, let us study about the two movements, the suffrage movement and the anti-apartheid movement. So, the suffrage movement. In the 19th century, there was few British women who began to speak about their rights, and who began to speak about that women should carry the rights of vote, or we can say to hold a political position. So they started this movement, and after just some time, several men and women, they joined them, and especially the USA. Eventually, New Zealand was the first country to grant equal voting rights to women in 1893. As this movement gained strength, or we can say it was becoming popular during the two world wars, as during these wars there were many of the men who were called for the fight, and the responsibility of the jobs of the men who left, it went on the women. They proved that they can perform the same task of the men, which is reserved, and equally efficiently they did their jobs. And that was the time when countries across the globe, they began to recognize that women can also do the job of man, and they are the equal citizens, and they should be granted the right to vote. So after this, the USA in 1920 and the UK in 1928, they gave the right to vote to women as well. And this voting rights were granted to women in some regions of India even before independence. So after the drafting of the constitution in 1950, there was universal adult franchise which began to applied and practiced in India. Now the next one is apartheid. As apartheid, it is an African word which means apartness, where the non-white population in many of the parts of the globe, they were treated unfairly for a long period of time. And in South Africa, this policy of officially discriminating the people, it came to be known as apartheid. So non-white people of South Africa, they were not allowed to mix with the white population. They were having every of the separate thing, like restaurants, railway compartments, school, colleges, libraries, parks, everything was separate, and they were denied their basic human rights. So because of this humiliation they faced, many of the people, they began to protest against this. And Nelson Mandela, he was the important one from them. He was the active member of African National Congress, which was the organization who was formed to fight with the racial discrimination in South Africa. Because of his activities, he was sent to jail for 27 years, and after this he continued his fight from prison as well. So from the pressure of the countries around the world, they were being forced, the whites were being forced to release Nelson Mandela in 1990. He was awarded with the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. So the very next year, finally apartheid, it came to an end, and Mandela, he was elected as the first non-white president of South Africa. So India, it is having a largest representative democracy, where the Indians do not directly participate in the governance of the country, but they have the power to elect, to choose their representatives who can make the government on their behalf. So by casting votes in every 5 years through universal adult franchise, which is the basic right which is granted to all Indian citizens by the constitution. This was not always, this was not the same always. We also faced many of the monarchs, we faced many things in ancient and medieval periods in India. There were rule of British in the modern society, and there were many of the things which we faced, women's, the illiterate, without property. After the years and years of struggle and sacrifice, we ensured that universal adult franchise should be practiced all over the country today. So this was the meaning that every of the Indian citizen over the age of 18 can vote. So students, with this we have reached to the end of the lesson. Keep learning and have a good day ahead.